Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jennifer Hardy, and this is the Unstoppable Podcast Show. Thank you so much for listening in today. So today I have with me Randi Lee. How are you doing, Randi?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you, Jen.
Wonderful. Now, Randi, you are a self-love coach for strong women, and your mission is to help women love and accept their bodies regardless of size by helping them transform their mindset, which we could all be doing with transformational mindsets. I think at every stage of our journeys, couldn't we?
I think so.
Definitely. So let's find out a little bit about you, Randi. What made you come into this kind of business?
Yeah. Thanks, Jen. So I honestly think that my whole life journey really led me to this business. But my whole life I struggled with being considered overweight, and I never really felt like I fit in, or like I was represented in the pictures that I saw in the media, or, in my friend group or anything like that. And so I just always thought like there was something wrong with me because my outer appearance didn't match what society or even really my family was telling me was beautiful. And through that, I developed, a disordered eating, a horrible relationship with myself, horrible relationships with men, because I was constantly just searching for love and acceptance any way that I could get it because I wasn't giving it to myself. And it wasn't until I literally hit rock bottom with myself. I had gotten out of another horrible relationship and just one day looked at myself in the mirror and was like, there has to be something more than just constantly trying to lose weight and change myself on the outside. I just knew that there had to be a bigger life's mission than just always trying to lose weight and change myself externally. And I knew I had to try something different. And that was looking within and trying to love and accept myself exactly as I was without trying to change myself, which is what I had up until that point been doing my entire life. And once I really started to love and accept myself unconditionally, I found out who I was and just completely transformed my life in so many ways, my relationships, and I found my life's purpose and created a business out of it, all through looking within myself and giving myself that love that I had been searching for.
Amazing, fantastic. So the women that you work with, or is it men? Just women, isn't it? Yeah, it's just women.
Just women, yeah.
And the women that you work with, what kind of, when they come and search for you and look into what you do, where are they at within themselves? Is there a lot of them that are at that kind of, rock bottom place, and they really need the help and guidance, even just to kind of see themselves in the incredible light that they should be? Or are some of them actually, pretty strong, but just need that elevated? Or is it just a little bit of a mixture?
Yeah, so I'm actually a competitive power lifter. So most of the women that I work with are actually power lifters as well. So they do definitely have a lot of strength already on their own. But what they all have in common is almost a lifetime struggle of trying to love and accept their bodies. And, powerlifting, especially for me, was a way to try to love myself and accept my body, as it was. But there's a lot of things in powerlifting, like weight classes and just competition with other women, that didn't give me that love and acceptance I thought it was going to. Again, it was like something else outside of myself trying to, solve the problem instead of looking internally. And so I see this in a lot of the women that I work with, is that they put a lot of their value in these external things. Like, okay, if I can't be thin, then I'll be strong. And if I can't be strong, then what's my value? And so I really help these women find value in themselves, regardless of anything external, and just really build confidence in themselves, knowing that they can be anything that they want to be, regardless of size.
That's fantastic, and it's nice to hear that that you do work with those women as well, where there is already a strength, and you're basically just elevating that or up leveling that as well. That's really cool, because I think sometimes as well, there's women, and I know just from because I'm one of them, that put on pretty strong fronts for quite a long time. I know that I've had to do that. You know, I've always been the main breadwinner in my family. I've always kind of been the person that supported everyone when anything has gone wrong, within their kind of outer family as well. And you can stay strong for so long, but you definitely do then need to actually have someone go, do you know what, it's actually all right for you to just step back and be with yourself for a little while and not feel as if you have to hold it all together all of the time. I think there's something really refreshing in that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I can resonate with that a lot, because I think that was me in a lot of senses, that no one really knew that I was struggling for a lot of my life, because I always put on this strong front, like everything was fine, everything was okay. And, you know, inside I was really struggling. And I see that with a lot of the women that I work with too, is they appear strong, but they're really struggling. And it really is about having somebody who understands that struggle, and to know that you're not alone, I think is such a huge freedom, right? Like it just takes off that shame and that pressure that we feel that these problems we have to carry on our own. But when you realize that there's so many other people who go through similar things, it can be such a freeing experience.
It can be 100%. And then that leads into this, you being much more appreciative of yourself, of your heart, your soul, your mind, and honoring it a little bit more, and giving yourself some time and the respect that you deserve, instead of always beating yourself up, you know, I must be this, I must be that. And it brings me into the next question, actually, because I know when I let go of control all of the time, and I'm sure you've felt the same here, it had a massive impact on my business life as well. When I started to love myself a little bit more, it had a massive impact on my business too. Do you feel that has happened with you, and do you see that also happening with the people that you work with that do have their own businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, loving myself really helped me start this business. I wouldn't have founded this business if it wasn't for my own self-love journey. Yeah. But in the process of having a business, there's all these hurdles and speed bumps that you run into. And if you really aren't comfortable with yourself and able to face yourself and those mistakes, or you know, sometimes what feel like failures, and really be compassionate with yourself and look at them and say, okay, what can I learn from this? And not take it as a personal attack on who you are as a person, or that you're not worthy of this business, or that this business isn't, you know, going to be successful. I think a lot of times we take it to that extreme, but when we're able to really love and accept ourselves through every stage of the process, it just makes it flow, and it just makes it so much easier, because like I said, I try to look at everything like a lesson in my business. Like, what is this teaching me? What can I learn? How can I grow and transform, and know that it's setting me up for exactly where I need to be. And having that faith it really has made my business almost effortless.
I love it. And for people that are out there just now, just wanting to learn where they get started with this journey, this kind of self-improvement, self-love, self-care, radical self-care actually, what would be some of your tips or some of the steps that you could suggest to them that they could maybe start working on, like literally today?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is just building your awareness of the thoughts that you say to yourself, the words that you use to label yourself. I am a huge believer in the power of our identity, and that's really the driver of our behavior. And so if we're labeling ourselves as somebody who is can't follow through with things, or is lazy, doesn't, accomplish their goals, or any of these things, we're going to continue to live out those experiences. Versus if we change that and tell ourselves that we are successful and we are beautiful and we can wear whatever we want regardless of size, and all of these things that we really want to achieve in our lives, it really starts with the way that we talk about ourselves, the way that we label ourselves, and that identity. And so that is really the biggest piece of advice that I can give. And I think that something that can be really transformative is just becoming aware of what is your identity. What do you currently think of yourself? What are the words that you use to label yourself, to talk about yourself? And how has that been affecting your life? And then you can see the patterns of the behavior that reinforce that. And then you can start to shift that into what you want to create.
Yeah. Excellent. So on the online space, where is it we can actually find you and the work that you do?
Yeah, so I am most active on Instagram. That's where you can find most of my content. I'm very passionate about my posts and sharing my story on my Instagram. So you can find me there. My Instagram handle is island_Randi, and Randi is with an I. And then you can also find me on my website, which is randilee.net. And I would love to offer your listeners my self-love workbook, which has the 5 steps to starting your own self-love journey, to starting to love and accept yourself exactly as you are right now. And it includes a worksheet that you can use as like a daily journal to help you along your journey, as well as my book list, which books have really, if it wasn't for books and podcasts along this journey, I don't know what I would have done. So it includes my book list as well. And you can get that at bit.ly /my self-love workbook.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you so much. And tell us a little bit about what's next for you, Randi. What is your bigger mission over the next 6 months, couple of years? What would you like to be achieving within your business, of course, but also on a personal level?
Well, I just really want to help as many women as I possibly can. And, through my group coaching programs, through my one-on-one coaching programs, but also as a public speaker. And that is really what my life's mission is I want to speak in front of hundreds of thousands of women and help them to love and accept themselves exactly as they are, because I really believe that every single woman is beautiful, and we just need to change that narrative. And I think that so much can happen when we put aside that idea that we're all supposed to fit into a certain box and just start to embrace our own uniqueness.
Excellent. Well, good luck with all the beautiful work that you're doing out there. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. I'll ask you one more question, which I love. And sometimes people are like, oh my goodness, there's so many. But what would be your favorite quote?
Oh, my favorite quote. Okay. So I'm a huge Brene Brown fan. So there's this quote actually on my wall right now that I'll read. And it incorporates like so much of what I believe about owning our story. And so this is the quote. Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy, the experiences that make us most vulnerable. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light.
Oh, that's so beautiful, so gorgeous. And actually, just because you were talking as well about your favorite reading and podcasts being something that was crucial to your journey, could you give us maybe one of your favorite podcasts and one of your favorite books as well, so that we can go and have a little listen or read?
Yeah, so one of my absolute favorite podcasts is Lewis Howes School of Greatness. I have found so many other mind leaders, speakers, just influential people from his podcast alone that have shifted and transformed my life in so many ways. If it wasn't for his podcast, I don't know if I would have found Brene Brown. And Brene Brown has been, I've read all of her books. I just pre-ordered her new book, Dare to Lead, which I just started to read. And so that podcast has just been one of the most influential in my life. And one of the biggest books that has changed my life is Brene Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness.
Oh, nice. That sounds awesome. I don't think I've ever came across that. What's it called?
Yeah, it's called Braving the Wilderness. And it's all about learning to accept yourself and stand on your own and not be afraid to basically be alone. Like knowing that you belong to yourself. And like that concept to me was like completely new because I always thought I had to belong to somebody else.
Yeah.
And once I finally was like, wow, I can belong to myself. Like it was just like a huge light bulb went on for me. And that was at the beginning of my self-love journey. And that really just transformed everything for me and really led me to where I am today.
Amazing. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing some time with us this morning. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you, Randi. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, Jen. Thank you.
Awesome. So everyone out there listening, you know what to do. If you scroll down a little bit, you will find all of Randi's links to her social media accounts, but obviously to those awesome freebies that she was talking about as well. And if you want to find out a little bit more about Unstoppable, what we do here, just underneath Randi's links, you can also find everything about Unstoppable. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode today and no doubt taken lots of beautiful golden nuggets away from it. Thank you again for spending time. Really appreciate you, Randi. And yeah, thank you so much for doing the work that you're doing in the world. It's awesome.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening again, because of course, I don't know where you are in the world, but I know that you're here listening to this and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. You know that you can always like this, share it, and add any comments to the bottom of these posts. So please, please, please keep spreading the word, keep sharing the movement, and together we will just grow stronger and bigger and better. Thank you again, all of my listeners, and thank you again, Randi, and I will speak to you all real soon. Bye.